Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at the Russian 6x5 bayonet. Now this one is actually Ukrainian issued and has actually come out of the Russo-Ukraine war. And I know this because I bought it direct from Kiev. 2, it has the Ukrainian style of serial numbers on it, and 3, Ukraine have very interesting laws when it comes to exporting bayonets, and that is they must be demilitarized or demilled prior to posting out of Ukraine. The way they do this is they cut the blades off, which is an absolute shame. Initially, it would have looked like this Bulgarian one here because it was manufactured in Russia. This is manufactured in Bulgaria, so a little bit different. Anyway, these bayonets were made to fit the AK-74 initially, and later they were used on the AK-100 series of rifles, and it's a stack of different rifles in that family there. And they were made by Izhevsk, and they were produced from 1983 until, as far as I know now, or they probably stopped in the last couple of years with the new AK-12 and their bayonet. I'll jump into the history. So initially the AK-74 came out prior to this bayonet, and with the AK-74 initially they were using the 6x4. I did a video on this one last week. Check it out if you haven't already. I go through the history and the construction, the markings and everything there. This one is Russian issued, not Ukraine. So initially they were using those. However, the AK-74 had this new plum and then black furniture on it, and they made a new bayonet to go with it. It's made of the exact same polymer actually, or the scabbard and the handle anyway. Now the very first version of these came in this plum color, and I don't know how well my camera's picking it up, but these two are drastically different colors. This one is a black, and this one is like a dark brown or a plum. And this is the initial version that they released, and they made those until I think it was 1985 that they moved over to the black, although I've seen references that it was 1991, so I don't know. I'm going by where is it? My book here says 1985, and this book is fantastic, and as far as I know it's sort of like the definitive reference, but all the references online I find say 1991, so take your pick. Now what's really interesting about this one here, the plum one, I've come across a couple of the plum ones before, the very, very early ones, but when you have a really close look at it, you'll see it's sort of speckled with like little flecks of orange all throughout. Not too much. And it's very similar to the Polish 6X or 6H3 bayonet, which I've also done a video on. I can't find any references to these when they were produced or if they're common. I haven't seen a photo of a single other, so I don't know if it's early production, later production, if it's just a one-off. But this one's a little bit different to what you usually come across. Now, the blades themselves had this silver sort of matte finish to them. And I found some reference that it's possibly a titanium finish, not a titanium blade. But I don't have the blade to show you other than, you know, this tiny little stub here. So there's not too much to go off. Now these bayonets were in service from 1983. Well, they're still in service now, but in Russia they're gradually being replaced by the 6X9, which is used on the AK-12. I really want to get my hands on one of those, but they're currently selling for thousands of dollars when they do pop up on the internet, so I don't think I'm going to fork out that kind of cash. I'll wait till they become a bit more accessible, or someone I know gets one, and I'll do a video then. And in Ukraine, they're being replaced by all of the NATO stuff. So Ukraine's doing away with all their AK-74s, and they're swapping them out for Bren 2s, Scars, M4s, all the NATO rifles. And as far as I know, they're not worrying too much about bayonets, but when they do, they're getting the NATO stuff, and it's a bit irregular what they have, a little bit of everything. So there's a whole surplus of these in Ukraine at the moment, and Ukraine's obviously funding a war, and they're surplusing everything, selling everything, and that's why these are demilled, and you can pick them up on eBay for like 20 bucks US. They're really, really cheap. They do take probably a month or two to arrive from Ukraine in the mail, But hey, I'm pretty happy with this, and maybe one day I'll get a spare blade and I'll be able to repair it, like a blade blank. I'm actually tempted to like track down a blade from another bayonet that I can get easily accessible. Like there's blade blanks out there for KCB 77s and Ziegler 77s, and I'm tempted to try and stick one of those on these. I know it'd be ridiculous, but it'd be a fun little project, and I'm not really destroying anything that's worth a lot of money. A lot of collectors don't see the point in buying these because they only see them as tools, as knives. I'm really more interested in the history and the markings, and pretty much all of the markings are on the handle and the scabbard, so it doesn't affect me too much. Now, I might jump into the construction. So I'll use my Bulgarian one here to explain the blade. I've done a previous video on this Bulgarian one where I've really gone to depth on the blade profile. It has a bit of a funny shape to it. If I can get that on camera, it's like two overlapping blades connected down the middle. We've got a rectangular wire cutter, which is a lot squarer than the previous ones. Then we have a sawback running down one side, and the blade is really not very sharp at all. Now we're done with the blade, I can move this out of the way. Now moving down to the handle, this is where things get really interesting in my opinion. So the tang is, I don't really understand how it works, but we've got the crossguard and the muzzle ring and the tang, and they're inserted into a mold, and I believe that the handle is actually molded around the metal components, including the internals of the pommel, because there's no seams that I can really see. It doesn't look like it's two halves that have been put together, which is what you usually would get. I mean, it's kind of a seam down the middle, but it doesn't look like two halves that have been put together as much as a single solid piece that's been molded together. And as you see, the polymer goes over here in one continuous piece, and it covers the tang, and yeah, the cross-guarded muzzle ring just sticks out of it. Then we have our three, what we'd call them, ribs in the handle, and down the spine here, I've got a little bit of a recess for, I'm guessing, the cleaning rod. I'm not too sure. I found a couple of references that said the press button was made of a black plastic. However, this one is pretty worn, and as you can see, it's clearly metal and not plastic. So maybe others are plastic, I don't know. I also read the earlier ones are 10 mil across and the later ones are 8 mil across, but I don't have anything on me at the moment to measure it, so I'll take that with a grain of salt. Standard press button, press it across, and we've got a little ramped lug on the inside that locks on the bayonet lug on the rifle. Little T-mortise, and the whole thing is polymer with metal on the inside. So if you remember the older style of AKs, they have a nice big beefy metal pommel. That was brought in because soldiers were breaking the old polymer ones, using it as a hammer. I haven't heard anything negative about these. They feel pretty sturdy, so I can't imagine these are breaking, but you know, they might be prone to breaking like the old ones were. Moving down to our scabbard, just a standard polymer style of AK scabbard with our two ribs down either side. We've got our wire cutter, and then it just uses a brown leather frog, pretty much the same as all of the other AKs. Jumping into the markings, the only manufacturer marking you'll find on these is on the scabbard, and that's the Ijevsk triangle with an arrow down the center. You won't find one on the bayonet itself or the handle, unlike the Bulgarian ones where the double circle 10, the manufacturer's mark, is on the handle. You don't find that here. The next style of marking you'll come across is the mold marks. So just here we've got a 1-2, these just tell you which mold it went through. And here we've got, where are you? 9-1, just above my thumb, just above the opposite side of the push button. Then serial numbers. Serial numbers don't come impressed on these bayonets from the factory. They're usually electro-penciled or scratched in. So the Russian ones will have the last 3 digits of the serial number from the rifle, both on the bayonet and the scabbard, and they're usually readable so that when you're holding it upright, blade pointing upwards, you can read them. Whether this is a Ukrainian one, and this has a different style of serial number. So we've got 2 letters, looks like we've got a backwards N there in Cyrillic, and then 451. And we have a non-matching number down here on the pommel, and I can't quite make it out too well. 1434 possibly. It's not scratched in particularly well. And we also have another marking that was carved in here. I can't make out what it was, but it's been completely scratched out. So someone's just come in and scrubbed it out. So I don't know, maybe that was someone's name or something like that, the company or position or unit, whatever. No way to really know. And the last kind of marking you come across on these are the inspection markings. And I can't show you the ones on the blade because we don't have the blade. I'll use this one as a proxy. So on the right hand side, on the early ones, we would have in blue or purple ink an M in a square and then a 9 on the right hand side. And then on the later ones, it's just the M in a box on the right hand side. Then on the left side of the blade, we have our individual inspector's mark, and that will be OTK with a number next to it. I think the number designates which inspector it is, but I really don't know. I've seen a couple of different numbers like 25 and 12, so I'm not too sure. And you'll also find that OTK inspector's mark stamped on the back of the scabbard just up from the mold mark in a silver or white ink. This one has completely worn away. And that's really all I have to say about these bayonets. They're really cool. I really like the stuff coming out of Ukraine because even though they've been demilitarized and had the blade removed, it's a part of history. And, you know, these things are going to be popping up for ages and people are going to be coming up with ones without blades in 100 years. And they're going to be asking, you know, why is it like this? And we'll be able to say, hey, they're the ones that came out of Ukraine when they had crazy export laws on bayonets. But if you have any ideas what I can do with this one as a bit of a project piece, as I said, I'm thinking about getting a Zietler 77 or KCB 77 blade because both will fit in this scabbard. I should probably also point out that the throat has been removed as well. So when they demilitarize these, they remove the blade and the throat. So I'll have to replace that, but that's a pretty easy piece to track down. Anyway, guys, that's really all I've got to say about these. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, and thanks for watching.